President Johnson once said, "You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bring him onto the sideline of the race, and say you are free to compete with all the others, and still just believe that you have been completely fair." Good morning, peers. I come here with a problem that till this day hasn't been resolved after countless years. Racial imbalance within the educational system cannot be achieved without affirmative action. Yes, our history. As minorities, we have come late into the race, and the whites had already been given a head start. Can we ever catch up? Success. The one thing we all strive for every day in our lives. Don't you have dreams and goals that you want to become a reality? Don't you want to become so successful that you can tell your parents to stop working because you got it? Buy them the world because they deserve it? Okay, now imagine that you just finished high school and got to the college of your dreams, and someone tells you that the only reason why you got there was because of special treatment, referring to affirmative action. Affirmative action are policies in which an institution or organization actively engages in efforts to improve opportunities for historically excluded groups in American society. As minorities, we face disadvantages and challenges in our everyday life due to how unfair history has been to us. How has it been unfair, you might ask? Well, since the beginning of time, Latinos and blacks were discriminated against in college acceptance and in jobs. Researchers have found that recently as 2004, white students were 5 times as likely as black students to enroll in high selective colleges, and 2 to 3 times as likely to gain administration, even after accounting for income differences between black and white families. White students were also 3 times as likely as Hispanic students to enroll in a selective college. Also, over time, for workers including minorities and whites who are unemployed between the age of 16 to 19, that number is about 20.7%. Unpacking that number by race, young whites have an unemployment of 17.5%, and young African Americans are more than double that number at 38%. That's an outstanding number. Our history will always affect our present. Don't you guys want to finally catch up to the whites? When people hear the United States of America, they refer to it as a land of opportunity. Many will agree with me that without education, we won't be as successful, which has been a proven fact. Critics of affirmative action argue that what really matters isn't race, but income. That colleges should focus on promoting social economics rather than racial diversity. About 82% of high school graduates from high school income families enroll in colleges, compared to 52% of graduates from low-income families. By comparison, just under 70% of white high school graduates go to college, versus 65% of blacks. Moreover, the fact that racial minorities have lower graduation rates than low-income students suggests that, at a minimum, income can't fully explain the racial gap in education. The racial gap has generally narrowed over time, and the income gap has not. Clarence Thomas, a Supreme Court judge who went to the University of Yale, is in disagreement with the policies of affirmative action and believes that because of affirmative action, he got into the College of Yale. When he went to job interviews, many people doubted his intelligence because he was black, and they just couldn't believe that he got into the University of Yale. Due to his intelligence being questioned, just because of the color of his skin, he believed that maybe he shouldn't have gone into the University of Yale. For this reason, he believes that affirmative action has humiliated him and allowed others to doubt him. As a result, critics state that affirmative action is unfair and causes reverse discrimination. However, affirmative action is necessary to ensure racial and gender diversity in education and employment. Without affirmative action, it is likely that our nation's primary colleges and universities would be mostly occupied by white men and Asian American students, who tend to score higher on standardized tests than women and other minorities. As a nation that is growing increasingly diverse, we need to determine what kind of future we want and what standards we are going to use in order to allocate education opportunities. With that being said, there would be no racial balance in the education system without affirmative action. Verna Haynes once said, "Stigmatize me, give me the degree, then maybe I can be free." Haynes is a law student at the University of Jersey. She proclaimed that the only reason why she got into such an amazing school was because of affirmative action, and believed that she wouldn't be where she is because of it. Many of her classmates believe that she shouldn't have gotten any special treatment or advantages just because she is a minority. What many of the students fail to realize is that once you step into college, because of affirmative action or not, is that they all started on an equal playing field. Before any of us were alive, the educational system was not made for minorities, but just for whites. In 1954, the Supreme Court decided that racial discrimination in public education is contrary to the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. State or local authorities are therefore prohibited from maintaining racially segregated schools. Before schools were forced to segregate, that's where racial imbalance in the educational system started, which caused whites to have a head start, and where they were given the advantage of having a better education than others. Affirmative action is defended by its advocates as only the realistic means of overcoming long-standing economic inequalities based on race and gender. Affirmative action has allowed minorities to become more successful, and without it, racial balance in the educational system will not. Thank you for listening.